Did your last vacation empty your bank account? Wish you could make those dollars go further? It's possible you're making these common travel mistakes and costing yourself a fortune in the process. Let's be frank, the cheapest flights are the ones that suck the most. These are the tickets heading out during the graveyard shift, fares that force you to transfer from one airport to another, and those with long overnight layovers. The latter, in particular, are often much cheaper than those with a typical 2 or 3 hour layover. So you grab one of these flights, thinking you'll spend a night in a new city, get some shut-eye, and then rise and shine for the next leg of your trip. Easy, right? Well, no. Although nice if you're looking for a slower travel pace, this approach probably won't save much money. You'll need a place to sleep, for one thing, and airport hotels tend to be expensive, forcing you to eat the cost or book one outside the airport. Tack on the price of travel if you're staying outside the airport, as well as the need for a meal or two, and things are already starting to look pricier than a shorter layover. Of course, intrepid globetrotters may wish to sleep overnight in the airport, but airport furniture is not made for you to sleep on. In fact, in many cases, it's actually designed to prevent that. Worse still, some airports even close their secure areas at night, forcing you to rest in the busier section ahead of security. It's possible, sure, but it won't be fun. Hotels try very hard to be a destination at your destination, but nobody's really kidding anyone. A hotel is just a place to sleep. All the best parts of your trip will likely take place beyond your hotel's premises. Despite this fact, you'll find some remarkably enticing hotel upgrade options on the market. Complimentary meals, spa access, massage services, the list goes on.
This is a vacation.
Unless you plan to spare no expense and live like royalty, however, the cheapest accommodation serves the same general purpose and leaves more in your wallet for vacationing. With that in mind, you're probably better off experimenting with cheaper hotel alternatives. Airbnb has fallen out of favor in recent years, and it's certainly not as cheap as it used to be, but you'll still find the occasional worthwhile deal there. If vacation rentals don't work for you, hostels and bed and breakfasts might stretch your dollars further. And while these may seem like drastic options, think of it this way. When looking back on your vacation, you'll have tons of memories of the things you did and very few of the places where you slept. If you love traveling but don't have a travel-focused credit card, you are seriously missing out. It's effectively a free money hack, as you can use it to pay for your everyday expenses, accumulate miles, and redeem those miles for flights and accommodation. Many credit cards offer welcome bonuses too. If you spend a certain amount within the first 3 months of owning the card, you receive tens of thousands of miles in return. Then, you can redeem those miles by booking through your credit card company or claiming a card purchase when it clears. Depending on your card, you could knock off about $750 with those introductory rewards alone.
I can get used to this.
Credit cards usually work by a system of 2 to 10 times the miles per dollar you spend. So $100 of groceries could earn you about 200 miles. Depending on your card, 10,000 miles adds up to about $100 in deducted travel costs. Some cards also offer beneficial perks, such as access to their exclusive airport lounges and no foreign transaction fees. If possible, it's also worth considering using that travel card for things you need to buy at home: groceries, housing costs, car payments, and anything else you'd ordinarily purchase with plastic. You'll easily rack up hundreds of dollars worth of travel rewards over a year of everyday expenses. Just be careful with the temptation to overspend. Unnecessary credit card debt turns this potential boon into a serious burden. Do you fly a lot, particularly on a single airline? You've undoubtedly been bombarded with advertisements about the airline's frequent-flyer program. At first glance, it might seem like the reward program at a retailer or a grocery store. A few minuscule benefits that aren't worth the effort it takes to sign up. When it comes to airlines, though, you really ought to reconsider. Frequent flyer miles can get you free flights, baggage, and seat upgrades to a better cabin class. Frequent flyer programs are free to sign up for, and they make check-in a bit easier since they save all your info for future flights. Paired with airline credit card points, you get the card benefits and all the accumulated miles. Even if you fly infrequently on an airline, it doesn't hurt to go the extra mile to sign up. Some airlines, such as Delta and JetBlue, have miles that never expire, and some don't expire if you use their credit card. You could very easily gather them for years at a leisurely pace and cash in when you have enough. After all, you earn miles by flying, something you'd be doing already. Most people only have about 2 weeks of PTO, making it tempting to go all out for their sanctioned yearly trip. Time's a-wastin', so every red second you could spend with toes in the sand is sacred. However, consider a few things before you book that bombastic round-the-globe trip. First, every additional day of your vacation costs you hundreds of dollars. Your hotel nights and meals add up fast, even for a small family. The bigger the vacation, the bigger your heart attack when you see the final bill. That part's obvious, but the second component is why we'd recommend shorter vacations. Long vacations are exhausting. Think back to the last time you spent just 4 or 5 days out of town. As fun as it was, you probably crawled into bed as soon as you got home. Travel is wonderful, sure, but it's hard to enjoy it once you hit zombie mode energy levels. Trimming down your vacation by a few days maximizes enjoyment and helps to save a ton of money when booking. There seem to be 2 prevailing myths about when it's best to book a flight. One is that you should book months in advance, and the other is that you should book within a week of your trip.
By Grabthar's hammer. What a savings.
Neither of these options are particularly effective, however. Last-minute Hail Mary flights are highly unlikely to result in any deals. On the contrary, you might spend upwards of $220 extra. Discounts only appear for an undersold flight, which is increasingly rare these days and likely to result in a cancellation. Don't hang your hat on this strategy. Surprisingly, booking early doesn't net you any particular benefits either. Booking around a year in advance could actually make your flight about $50 more expensive. Even as early as 165 days before the flight, booking can cost $20 more than the lowest low. According to Investopedia, the prime booking window is between 46 and 164 days ahead of your flight. You're probably best off signing up for notifications on your favorite flight aggregator, such as Google Flights, to receive an email when a particular flight changes price. Check those prices against annual flight cost averages to determine when to pull the trigger on a good deal. Air travel has changed a lot in the past 20 years, especially considering how airlines keep turning the screws on consumers to make more money. Once upon a time, when the security theater that is the TSA didn't exist, you only had to pay for a checked bag if it was overweight or if you had more than 2. Nowadays, you're lucky to get that on a long-haul international flight, much less a domestic one. And unless you can cram vacation essentials into a carry-on, you will need at least 1 checked bag. You can at least save a bit of money by nabbing a baggage deal early. Many folks buy it later, usually once they get to the airport, but airlines play a careful balancing game with their onboard weight, which is part of the reason why they nag you to buy checked bags early. And this is also why they jack up the prices the closer you get to departure. Using United Airlines as an example, your first checked bag costs $30, and your second costs $40, provided you buy them 24 hours before your flight. Less than 24 hours before your flight, the price goes up $5 a pop. Some airlines charge even more. It's not a tremendous amount of money, but every cent counts on a tight travel budget. Many people view airlines charging a premium for specific economy seats as something of a racket. This tends to feel like an insult to passengers since they know airlines are actively shrinking the legroom to fit more seats on the plane. And it's true, you shouldn't buy into this business model, and not just because it might cost you money. For starters, the extra legroom usually only makes a worthwhile difference if you're tall. For most, especially on a short flight, paying the additional fee to secure an hour or 2 of comfort is probably not worth it.
Extra footroom. 1 inch at least.
Another thing to remember is that airlines don't always succeed in selling these overpriced premium locations. Many get no takers during the booking process. Show up at the airport as early as possible, and you might have the option to choose one of those unclaimed seats, though still likely for a price. A cheap flight is a cheap flight, but if there's anything a traveler should know in this fee-laden travel age, it's that a good price sometimes comes with caveats, and booking the cheapest flights can actually cost you more money. The number one reason for this is flexibility. Most of those bare-bones, basic economy tickets deprive you of the ability to cancel or change your flight. Another downside is the lack of seat selection. Delta and United nix that benefit from their lowest ticket fares, for example. You'd be at the mercy of the airline for your seating choice, and you'll probably end up in the hard-knock final boarding group. Frequent flyers might want to steer clear as well. Basic economy tickets are often excluded from collecting miles, or at least given far fewer. Finally, some of these cheap fares do not include baggage allowance. So if you saved $50 on your flight, you might end up paying it back to check a bag later on. Make sure to research any flights well before you buy, as an extra $50 to $100 is a small price to pay for a free carry-on or seat selection. In terms of time saved, flying is always preferable to driving. Aside from the discomfort of airplane seats and baggage limitations, there's no parking to worry about and no gas prices to contend with. That said, flying to a nearby destination may not always be worth it. Take, for example, a flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor International to San Diego International. This would cost you an average of $200 for one person round trip, whereas a 6-hour drive would cost you almost half as much. Add in the cost of travel companions, and the savings become even more apparent. Convenience can't always beat the cost-effectiveness of a road trip.
We can't stop here. This is bad country.
Driving is often cheaper than even the longest flights, assuming you don't luck out on a major discounted fare. A car trip from Phoenix to New York City still costs less than flying. So the tip here is this: if the destination is within a few hours from home and your schedule allows for it, consider turning your journey into a road trip. Savings aside, you'll have a lot more space for baggage, a more flexible itinerary, better transportation at your destination, and the possibility of hitting a bunch of popular stops along the way.